You ever wonder why, as adults, we find ourselves reconnecting with things that made us the happiest as kids? For me, those things look like action figures, books, series, anime, TV shows, movies. But a cross section of all those things, I found myself at another medium, which is comic books. Now, there was a point when I was a teenager that I did get into comic books, and there was a point where I stopped reading them. Life got busy, work started to be work, responsibilities and things of that nature. Just started to trying to figure out adulthood. It all kind of pushed comics into the background. They became something I use to love, mm, something I made time for, to something I just didn't. But somewhere along the way, I picked up another issue, and it reminded me of something I've forgotten. Comics have a way of pulling you into another world unlike anything else. It's this incredible blend of storytelling and artwork. Every page asks you to slow down. You don't just watch the story happen, you participate in it. Your imagination fills the space between the panels, and before you know it, you've completely disappeared into another universe. What really surprised me after coming back is how much comics has really changed. Growing up, I thought comics was mostly superheroes, Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, but now I've discovered horror, sci-fi, fantasy, crime, slice of life stories, manga-inspired books, creator-owned series, stories that make you laugh, stories that break your heart, stories that stick with you long after you've closed the book. The diversity is endless. And honestly, some of my favorite books now aren't even from Marvel or DC. At the same time, there's something comforting about being able to keep up with the characters I grew up with. Characters I used to rush home from school to watch on TV, shows that ended years ago. The comics never really stopped. So every time I open up a new issue, it feels like catching up with an old friend. It's nostalgic in the best way, and it reconnects me with that kid who couldn't wait to see what happened next with his new characters, his favorite characters at least. That feeling is something I never want to lose again. You know, there's been so many moments that since I came back to comics, one of the biggest surprises for me has been rediscovering franchises that I loved growing up. Um, Take Ben 10, for example. I used to race home to watch that show as a kid. Seeing Ben transform into all these different aliens, adventures, the humor. It was one of those cartoons that was a big part of my childhood. So when I found out that there was a brand new Ben 10 comic series from Dynamite, it immediately caught my attention. Picking up the first issue felt like reconnecting with an old friend I haven't seen in years. It reminded me that these characters don't have to stay in our childhood memories. They can keep growing with us. The same thing happened with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was obsessed with the live action movies growing up. Me and my brothers just watch it all the time. Those movies were just a big part of my childhood that honestly, hearing the words Cowabunga still makes me smile. When I finally decided to dive into the comics, I realized there was an entire world I'd never experienced before as far as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's characters I never knew about, villains, everything I never even know about. All I knew was Shredder growing up. Shredder and all the little ninjas to be with him, but still. And these weren't just characters I remember. They had decades of incredible stories waiting for me, just waiting for me to discover, waiting for me to rediscover and read. That's one of my favorite things about this medium or comics in general is they don't just preserve these worlds, they expand them. They let me spend more time with the characters I grew up loving, while introducing me to sides of them that I've never seen before. It's such a comforting feeling. Not also, almost like opening a back door into your childhood, but discovering there's also rooms you've never walked through before. And that's the magic of comics. They're nostalgic enough to remind you where your love for these characters began, but they're also offering you something new. And I think that's why I keep coming back every single week, because no matter how long I've been reading, there's always another story waiting on me. People ask me all the time, why comics when there are movies, TV shows, and video games? For me, there's just something special about this medium. A movie moves at its own pace. A novel asks you to imagine everything, but comics sit perfectly right there in the middle. The writer gives you an incredible story. The artist brings the world to life. The colorist sets the mood. The letterer gives you every conversation personally. Well, it gives the conversation its personality, I'll say. And then you, the reader, complete the experience. You decide how long to stay on the page at your own pace. Take your time. Sometimes I've been on page for 20 minutes. Sometimes I've been on page for an hour just staring at what's going on. Sometimes I've been on page for 30 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. If I just skipped over it, it happens. Whatever. You can admire every expression, every little detail hidden in the artwork before you even turn the page. It's storytelling that invites you to slow down. And I think that's something we all just need a little more of. Another aspect on things comics has taught me for this is the older I've gotten, the more I've realized comics has given me so much more than entertainment. They taught me patience, waiting for month to month to see where a story goes. They taught me empathy by letting me experience life through characters and other lenses of people, or characters who come from completely different backgrounds from me, different worlds, different perspectives at that matter. They reminded me to stay curious. Every time I think I found my favorite writer or publisher, I discover someone new who completely changes my expectations. And maybe most importantly, they have reminded me that it's okay to hold on to the things that made you happy as a kid. Growing up doesn't mean leaving your passions behind. Sometimes it means rediscovering them with a whole new appreciation. There's also something pretty special about Wednesdays. If you're a comic reader, you know exactly what I mean. Every Wednesday feels like opening a new chapter. Walking into a comic shop, seeing all the new releases on the shelves, picking up your pull list, maybe finding a book you weren't planning on buying, talking with the employees or someone else who's just as excited about a comic as you are. It's become part of my weekly routine, and honestly, it's one of my favorite parts of the week. One thing that has changed that I'm trying to really aim to change, that I also goes with my love for falling back in love in comics, is my evenings. It's so easy to spend an hour or two or even longer scrolling through social media and not remember a damn thing that you looked at. But when I sit down with a comic, I'm completely present for 20, 30 minutes, however long it takes me to read. It's just me and a story. No notifications, no endless scrolling, just turning pages. And when I'm done, I actually feel like I spent my time with something meaningful. As my love for comics grew again, so did my collection. Not because I wanted shelves full of books to show off, but because every book reminded me of a story that I've experienced, a creator that I discovered, or a moment that made me think differently. Also, growing appreciation for the creators. One thing coming back to comics has taught me is just how many talented people pour themselves into every single issue, that every week, every month, every release, whatever. Of course, we celebrate the writers and artists, but comics don't happen without incredible colorists, letterers, editors, designers. Everyone plays a role in bringing these stories to life. The more I've learned about people behind the books, the more I've appreciated just how much love and effort goes into every page that I read. Then came YouTube. Originally, I just wanted to talk about books I was excited about. Recommend a few comics here and there to you guys, build a community, share what I was reading. I never expected the best part to be all of you guys. Every day I get comments telling me what you guys are reading, what you're picking up on Wednesdays, what series you're excited about, or recommendations you've given me. And I've genuinely from the bottom of my heart appreciate all of it. That's become my favorite part of this journey. And because comics just aren't about collecting, they're about all the stories, they're about all the arts, they're about all the conversations, they're about finding people who get excited over the same exact things that you do. Going on the YouTube bit, I had someone tell me that people subscribe because they connect with you, not just your recommendations. When I uploaded my first comic video, I thought people were going to come to me just wanting to hear about Batman or Ultimate Spider-Man. But over time, I realized something else was happening. People kept coming back. They wanted to hear they want us to have a conversation. Every Wednesday, people tell me what they're pulling. They recommend books I've never heard of. We celebrate new number ones together. We debate endings. We get excited over cover art. Somewhere along the way, this stopped feeling like I was making videos for strangers, and it started to feel like I was talking to friends who just so happen to love comics as much as I do. It's a community of people who have completely different tastes, but we're all here because we love great storytelling, and that's pretty special. Another lens to look at for these is, like I told you guys in previous videos, I'm going to be a dad soon. And now that I'm going to be a dad, I find myself thinking about comics a little more differently. I think about the day I can hand my kids one of my favorite books, watching them discover Batman for the first time, laughing at Spider-Man, being inspired by Superman, or maybe finding a different character that becomes their favorite. Nightwing, hopefully get some morals. But just like comics helped me shape my childhood, I hope one day they become it become maybe a small part of theirs too, because these stories just aren't meant to be read; they're meant to be shared. More so, we're shared with people you love. So, why did I fall back in love with comics? Because they remind me to slow down. They let me escape for a little while. They reconnect me with that childhood while constantly introducing me to something new. And somehow, through all of that, they introduced me to all of you. And looking back, I thought I was simply rediscovering a hobby, but I was really rediscovering part of myself. The kid who couldn't wait to turn the next page, the kid who believed heroes could inspire ordinary people, the kid who got completely lost in incredible stories and breathtaking artwork. The kid is still here. Every Wednesday, every new issue, every conversation with this community, my B Pirates, you guys. Yeah, I'm calling you guys to be pirates. All right, so chill. You be my Nakamas, whatever. Reminds me of why I fell in love with comics in the first place. And honestly, I think the best stories are waiting to be discovered. And so thank you. So like I say, thank you for being part of this journey. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for every video, every view, every like, every subscribe, every comment, everything. Thank you guys for sharing your journey as well, sharing what you're reading, sharing the things that you guys enjoy, the things you guys love, the characters you guys love, the comics you guys love, the writers, every recommendation, all of it. Genuinely appreciate it. Hopefully we could build more of a community, get you guys one central space where we can all actually come together and thrive and like build that community. That's my goal for the rest of this year and going into next year. So whether you've been reading for decades or you're just getting started, thank you for being part of this journey with me. Now tell me, what comic made you fall in love with comics? I genuinely love to hear your story. I'm ThaWillyB. Peace.